Alrighty, everybody. My name is Ryan Moran, and I'm joined by my good friend Ryan Gallagher. Um, we've been talking football for so many years, and we figured why not just get a podcast up and running. The amount of ideas that we run past each other constantly. So this will be fun to kind of have it on record for you all to listen to and watch on YouTube as well. We're two big Jets fans, along with the NFL in general and the NFL draft. So we'll be covering it all, and we'll be trying to pump out episodes as much as we can. Ryan, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, well, hi guys. My name is Ryan Gallagher. Like you said, I basically covered everything we're going to be talking about. But this kind of gives us, puts us on the spot because all our takes will be out there. And it's our favorite time of the year as Jet fans, the off season. So I'm excited to just get into it and kind of recap the entire year.
Absolutely, especially hopefully this is the last time we say that for a while. Obviously, with the first year of a new regime moving forward. I guess if you just want to touch up really on how the 2021 New York Jets season went, what some of your general takeaways were on offense, defense. We'll get in depth today with the coaching staff as well and how they, met expectations in year one and what to expect moving forward. So I guess if you want to start out with that.
Yeah, so it was a weird year. It feels like it's kind of been the theme for us for the last 10 years, just to be out of it by October, November. And
Yep.
we kind of had a similar start to the year. Obviously, we only ended up winning 4 games. But
Right.
with that being said, and it's weird because I think you can make a fair argument that Sam Darnold probably had a better rookie year. But like we're also going into year 2 and not firing our head coach. Like we're bringing back the same staff. We're not hiring Adam Gase.
Right.
Like I do feel like we're going in a positive direction. I do
I
feel
agree.
going into the year though, obviously we dealt with a lot of injuries, especially early on in the year. So expectations were a little bit lower, but I did expect to
Yeah.
win 6 to 7 games, and it didn't happen. But granted, we've been dealing with injuries. I feel like for the past 3 or 4 seasons that are just
Absolutely.
absolute killers. We're signing free
Yep.
agents and then we're losing them in August and September.
Yep.
So, but overall, I would say I like the year, the way we ended the year outside of the Bills game, which is we all kind of expected yesterday's performance not to
Right.
be great. But building off the games like the Eagles and Tampa Bay, I think you can look forward to next season.
Definitely. I mean, obviously 4-13, I would say was probably the lowest. I thought anywhere from 4 to 7 wins this season was, probably realistic. 7 probably, a little bit too extreme, but really 5 or 6 wins. And I guess they fell a little short, you could say. Obviously the first year with Robert Saleh coming in, Mike LaFleur, Zach Wilson, ton of free agents, obviously, and a draft class that, looks like the most promising the Jets have had in like 15 years. And if I recall, they were at least towards the top of the league in amount of rookie snaps played. So, and most of those guys played pretty well when you look at it. Obviously, a lot of excitement with Zach, really in the Titans game early on, hit that speed bump in the middle of the season, came back from injury, and really, I thought played really well the last 5 weeks. Did not throw an interception, took good care of the football, made good decisions. I thought his accuracy came a long way. You could tell he was more comfortable as the season went on. Along with Michael LaFleur as well, the second half of the year, him going up to the booth, you could definitely tell that's where he's comfortable as well. And I just love the offensive scheme in general. I feel like it's very modern day, which the Jets, you cannot say they've had in a long time. Just the amount of pre-snap motioning, orbit motioning, jet motioning, having the run and play action pass game looking the same. There was some excitement. Obviously, like I said, the Titans game early in the season, the Bengals win. And then obviously the Buccaneer game there at the end, and Zach, I think, played his best game of the year. And I think that's the game that's really got us all thrilled for the future.
Yeah, and I think a positive direction is something you mentioned. It feels like we haven't had an offense in our whole entire life watching this team. So,
Yep.
And granted, they're not finished yet, but like you said, it's 2021 draft class. They were the best players on this roster. Like Eccles, Michael Carter, both Michael Carter's really good.
AVT, Elijah Moore.
Yeah, Elijah Moore, and then Zach Wilson showed glimpses of what we hope he can be going forward.
Yes, certainly. So it's definitely exciting. I would say just in terms of like the expectations, the win loss, like I said, was in that general vicinity, but overall, I would say, the rookies, that there were ups and downs. Like it was a slow start at times for some of them, but I think overall we can feel good about what they showed us and what we've got moving forward into the off season and when the regular season next year rolls around.
Yeah, and we have the number 4 overall pick, the number 10 overall pick. We have
Yep.
4 picks in the top 40.
Yep.
So this team is looking up. We're finally feeling pretty good about a coaching staff and a general manager duo. Like I said before, that was a big part of failing the last quarterback and failing quarterbacks before. We're never on the same page in the organization, and
right.
so we're finally getting continuity, which is a big
Yep.
part of building a successful organization. Granted, we have to hit on the picks, and that's not an easy task, but I feel like based on Douglas's 2021 class, we should have a decent amount of faith.
Right. And obviously that was the first year with the new coaching staff. So you hope the more and more they're acclimated with each other, the more and more they're in sync just on what kind of players they're looking for. Obviously the team has certain needs that have got to be addressed. And also, I mean, with a couple more releases coming, I mean, they're going to have a ton of cap space to throw around again. So it's a big off season, obviously. I think we're all excited with, the draft, obviously, like you said, 4 in the top 38 there. You think about it, I mean, they got Elijah Moore at 34. I mean, they're going to have an opportunity to get 4 types of guys like that early on. So It's very exciting. And then, hopefully if the offseason goes as we expect with free agency in the draft, more continuity from obviously a big free agent class as well this year, getting Carl Lawson back, Corey Davis as well. I feel like this team next year, like our expectations should be at least 500, really competing for the playoffs. Honestly, I'm thinking.
Yeah, I think a good point. I think next season we have to be in the playoff hunt. Maybe we don't make it because there's tons of talent in the AFC.
Well, the second year.
Yeah, but we need to be in the picture in December, and basically we need to be a game or two. We need to be right there because yes, there's a lot of talent in the AFC, but there's constant turnover. The Dolphins just fired Brian Flores, and I think that was a dumb mistake. So
I agree.
And going forward, that's another thing we had to touch on. We haven't won a division game, I feel like.
2 whole years.
Yeah, that's just unacceptable. And granted, the AFC East is good. So like it is going to be tough, but we got to find a way to win 2 or 3 division games next year.
Absolutely.
I know we've been kind of optimistic, but I think let's kind of bring it back to earth and talk about this defense. And I know you mentioned before, Albright, I think, was expected back. It just based on how the defense played, it wouldn't have been a total shock. To let someone go. But I will say at the same time, before we really dive in, the defense just doesn't have enough talent at key positions. And granted, we couldn't survive the injuries, especially to the defense. I feel like that's kind of. I feel like most defenses need like a certain amount of talent. You're seeing it kind of around the league with like Dan Quinn, for example. All his defenses in Atlanta, for the most part, outside of the Super Bowl year, kind of look terrible. And then you see what he's kind of doing with Dallas his first year there. Granted, he got Parsons, which he's an extreme talent, but I feel like most defenses, you can't really play smoke and mirrors with defense. If you got a weak link on the defense, every quarterback is attacking it, every offense coordinator is attacking it. And unfortunately, the Jets didn't have one weak link. They had 4 or 5 guys out there that were just
really. And like you said, starting up front, I mean, the run defense of the Jets this year is shockingly bad. I mean, all the years the Jets have missed the playoffs, but their run defense has always been consistently good. This year it was not.
Not always in the top 10. Worse. I think it was worse in the league this year.
It was terrible. And like you said, to lose Carl Lawson and Vinny Curry, I mean, they lack the pass rush far too frequently on key downs. They struggled on third down a ton. I mean, you think about there's probably 8 or 10 plays.
We gave up every
plays on 3rd and long that come to my mind that they gave up this year. I mean, they need to be better getting after the quarterback. Obviously, I think next year, hopefully, JFM is kicked inside more, where I feel like on 3rd downs he would be best. But he had a productive year. Obviously, I feel good about Q, CJ Mosley, a couple of the young corners, Bryce Hall, Brandon Eccles, Michael Carter II. I feel like some young players definitely proved that they can have a role in this team going into 2022 and beyond.
Yeah. I agree, although I think Quinn, as we expect, I do think he needs to take a next step.
I agree. I think he still can.
Yeah, not saying he had a bad year. I think most people after the year 2 jump were expecting him to even possibly be an all-pro kind of player. And this year he had the foot injury, so he kind of missed all of training camp. And to be fair to him, the pass rush just wasn't there for the whole entire season next to him. if you watch any kind of game, he's being double teamed, and he's not playing enough snaps in general.
I know that's another thing
That's something we got to get into. Like we have guys like Nathan Shepard who are playing like almost the same amount of snaps as Quentin Williams, and that didn't happen in one game. That happened all season.
they were constantly rotating. So
and listen, I get that we want to have like fresh guys coming in and out, but when you don't have the talent to be doing that,
right?
Because especially early on in the year, it was noticeable when Franklin Myers was being taken out and Quentin Williams. Teams were getting like 7 yards a carry. So.
And with Q, I mean, he's got such dominant potential that regardless, and I'm all for rotating and keeping the front four fresh, especially in this scheme where it's all about getting home to D-line and dropping 7 in coverage. Like, I love the philosophy, but Quentin is still so talented and special that he's got to be playing 75, 80% snaps. And you can still keep him fresh, I feel like.
Yeah, I agree. And he's still
and overall, I would like to see more depth added to the O-line and D-line.
Yeah. Well, I think Douglas said it again today that, him and Salah are both on the same page in terms of philosophy and building in the trenches. So based on how this year went, got extremely unlucky with Carl Lawson, and then probably even unluckier with Vinny Curry. I mean, he's playing his whole career, and then, gets a blood.
Phillips. I mean, he was coming back, and you could see some plays he made when he came back as well. So.
Yeah, and you see like a good example was like going away from the Jets real quick. Like Salah's old team, like the 49ers this year, like they're getting guys contributing like Arden Key, and like EJ Jones, and like guys who aren't like well known, but they keep that rotation fresh. But they have like the personnel to be doing that. Like unfortunately, we just didn't have the personnel with the injuries, and honestly, guys underperforming. I think a little bit.
Right.
Who were playing so, but. I will say on a positive note for the defense, I think most people's concern going into the season was the corners.
Yep.
That's what everyone figured the worst position was maybe on the team. And they ended up being the best position on defense. I don't think it's debatable. Granted, they still have ways to go, but like Bryce Hall's development year 2 was excellent.
That was huge.
Eccles was a pleasant surprise.
I agree.
There was fans who were on the Bless Austin train. I wasn't. I'm glad they went the way they did. Even if it didn't work out, I think it was smart. But Eccles showed a lot of potential.
Especially in coverage. I mean, he struggles in run support as a tackler. He's not the biggest guy, but he plays with good instincts. He's competitive. He makes plays on the ball, especially the last 4 games. I mean, he had 2 interceptions, had some PBUs. So I think you got to feel good about just him as a depth piece, at least.
Yeah. When you look at our corners, I think we have like 4 out of 7 or 4 out of 6. We'll probably carry 7. 4 out of 7 when you count Guidry. Michael Carter, Bryce Hall, and Guidry. Like that, those are. It's a pretty. Obviously, we need that like ball hawking game changer.
Need more production.
Like as a unit, especially the last couple of years, the Jets have had guys like Tremaine Johnson, Dale Roberts. Like we've had much worse corners the last couple of years.
And guys who are older. I mean, these are young players who clearly fit what they want to do and showed promise in the first year. So
that's something that's exciting, like the development and players improving. Usually, we've been kind of, like you said, we've been going the free agent route, and it just hasn't been working. We've been taking stopgaps and players we hope to be what they were in other teams, that haven't worked out here for another reason, for one reason or another.
Right.
But would you have fired Albright after year 1?
It's tough to say. I feel like the beginning of the season, he had some good things going. And I feel like eventually the lack of talent and just really the lack of a pass rush, especially on the edge, showed up, especially when Bryce Huff got hurt as well. Another player we forgot to mention. Him and Foley have been good up front for UDFA and a 6th-round pick the last couple of years. Look, I'm not saying it was a great year. I think there are some things, especially up front against the run, that I disagree with at times. I feel like that point in the season, they were just getting beaten with gap runs, traps, powers. Like teams knew how to, approach them with their attacking front 4. But overall, I feel like the unit played hard. I'll definitely say that. Even you just look at, yesterday's game in Buffalo against the Bills. I thought they really competed against Josh Allen.
Played really well.
Really good offense. And ultimately, I feel like it is so much of Salah's defense. Like it is his team. You know what I mean? To the point where I guess the continuity between him and Salah, I'm all right with it for another year. And hopefully, obviously we're definitely getting Carl Lawson back. We know that. And hopefully, 3 or 4 more new players between free agency and the draft who can really contribute. So.
Yeah, I agree. I just had to that would have been a scapegoat because like it's Salah's team, it's Salah's defense, and
Right.
at the same time, like we've been saying, like they just didn't have between all the injuries, they just didn't have enough depth, and then they didn't have enough like actual starters in the NFL, unfortunately.
Right.
Especially in this kind
I
of
mean,
scheme, it gets very exposed. We're used to running the 3-4, and
right.
like you said, being able to stop the run. But this year we switched to a new scheme. Guys who've been playing 3-4, and then it wasn't a great transition based on the personnel we had. But going forward, it obviously needs to be better because it was historically bad.
It was terrible.
It honestly can't get any worse. So
No,
for
it's
next
not.
season.
And
But
and the depth at safety as well obviously was tested
yeah,
all year. I mean,
yeah, we went
Joyner. I mean, you talk about the free agency class to get like nothing out of Joyner, Jared Davis, Carl Lawson, Vinny Curry. I mean, obviously all with injuries. I mean, it's just tough.
I think that's while we praised Douglas the 2021 class and we have faith in him, I do think the free agency has to be better.
A
Granted,
little bit.
he hasn't spent like McCagnon and other GM, so he's kind of
Right.
been
The Jets have flexibility, cap space.
and that's what Douglas likes. And don't get me
Right.
wrong, but I feel like he knows he's not under pressure, but like he's starting to hear it a little bit. Like this team has to
Yep.
improve. Like 2 wins,
Ah,
4 wins. Like we said, we gotta make some
they
moves.
gotta be in contention. If it's 9 wins next year and you just miss the
Yeah,
playoffs, like that to me is a big good
that's
step.
acceptable.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
That's going in the right direction.
And I
That's
think it's started.
like we can't be signing guys like Jared Davis on day one of free agency again. Like that was
Right.
just unfortunately, it didn't work out. I don't mind going like taking a risk on first round players and talented
Right.
players. We think that
Players who don't feel we're each right.
yeah, and we still should be doing stuff like that, but at the same time, we have to make sure that like we're actually getting players in who will
Talent.
be talent and players who are actually going to like show that talent on the field because
Right.
not it's unfortunate not every first round pick works out. So,
Right.
but let's talk about a unit we haven't really touched upon. Special teams. I feel like
Yep.
Boyer's done a good job here. He survived 3 different head coaches for a reason.
Exactly. Which says a lot.
Yeah, and other than like with our kicker, which we ended the year well with Panero, but I
Panera.
can't really blame that on him. But
No.
we should probably bring him back. But I'd also like to kind of finally address the kicker position and finally get it like stabilized because
It's been a revolving door since really that great year Jason Myers had. Like you
Yeah.
look past post Nick Folk. I mean, it's just been too
exactly
many guys.
really yeah, and granted we want to be in playoff contention next year and playing for games. We can't have a kicker missing 2 an extra point and a field goal every game. So
Yeah.
that needs to be addressed. But other than that, Brand Boyers
Work.
have been
Great work.
excellent. Like Maxine
Yep.
Barrios had an excellent year.
Absolutely.
Doug-
Thomas Hennessy, the last 5 years has been a good Jet. So
And besides yesterday, I think that was like the only time we had a block punt on us. But
right.
those
Yep.
were pretty bad conditions too. So
Yeah.
overall, really good. Another great year for Boyer. So
Boyer. Yep. Excited that he'll be back. Hopefully, some better personnel. Hopefully Barrios is back and he's able to have this unit just make a difference. I mean, when we're
he should be re-signed because Barrios does make a difference and special teams doesn't make a drastic difference in terms of where the offense starts. So
yeah, it absolutely does.
But before we end it, you want to go over maybe who you think we're going to re-sign?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously it's a big off season. You look at some of the UFAs and the restricted free agents. I'll start with the restricted. I think the 2 big ones that I look at really for me are Mike White and Kyle Phillips, who I think should both probably be getting that original round tender and should be back. Obviously White, I think really surpassed all of our expectations. At least mine, I could say. I mean, I think we were all mildly concerned and rightfully so, just because we had never seen him and what we had at backup quarterback going into the season. When he was starting to the fire in that Patriots game, I mean, he really, held his own. Obviously, the Bengal game was awesome. The Colt game looked very promising those first 2 drives before, he got hurt. And then the Bill game was tough, but the Bills were just a much more talented team.
Those are really good defenses. I think they're the number 1
Absolutely,
defense.
the best defense in the NFL. So to me, I think he's been with the Jets, I think 3 years now since 2019. So I would expect for him to be back on at least that restricted. Maybe they have to put the second round tender on him. I don't see a team giving up a second round pick for him. So I think they should be all right. And then obviously with Kyle Phillips, I mean, the UDFA in 2019 has really, the last 3 years when he's been on the field, obviously been very productive as both a pass rusher and a run defender. Provide some flexibility. I'd even like to see him inside more at times as a pass rusher on third downs. To me, those are the 2 that I look at least on the restricted end, who should be back.
Yeah, I have no objection. I mean, if a team is giving up a second round pick for Mike White,
We'll take it, obviously.
I'm
Yeah.
taking it and not matching it. So, but like you said, crazy game what happened with the Bengals.
Yeah.
That was probably the most fun game of the year. Just an
Yeah.
absolute electric game, which nobody had any expectations for.
Right.
And you know what? He's well liked in the locker
Yep.
room. And based on that game, and not only that game, like you said, the Patriots game is mildly impressive too, because we've seen good quarterbacks under Belichick defense get rattled, and
Yep.
he didn't. He played pretty well. And then
Yep.
the Colts game, that was another fun game, even though our defense was terrible. But in terms of the offense, Mike White came and he kind of picked up where he left off in the Bengals game. So
right. So I think he should be back as the backup next year. He's still a young player in the league. Clearly fits the system. Has familiarity with the Jets now. So to me, that's an easy one, really.
yeah.
Do you want to touch up on any more restricted, or just get into the UFAs?
Let's hop into the UFAs. I think that's what everyone wants to hear. Anyway.
A couple of big ones.
I do think most of our UFA unrestricted free agents are going to end up leaving.
Yep.
But I guess might as well go over, see if there's any keepers here. Marcus May, I think it's the end for him.
Writing's been on the wall.
Yeah, unfortunately, just
good 5 years with the Jets. I mean, look, we haven't had very many players the last 5 years with the team, let alone a draft pick. So I think he had a good run. But clearly it's been obvious since really last year.
Yeah, if anything was going to happen, it would happen when they had the franchise tag window. Yep. And then unfortunately he tore his Achilles. Yep. And he's also older. So unless his market isn't big and he gets a 1-year deal here, that's the only possibility. Crowder, I think it's also
great Jet the last 3 years, really. I mean, I love him, but obviously with the pay cut last year, that was just the first step. So
yeah, Jared Davis,
Quincy Williams was he was better. So
yeah,
to me.
Keelan Cole, I think, is someone who didn't get mentioned as much because of what happened with Mims, but Keelan Cole is probably the biggest disappointment for me in terms of the free agents, because I personally didn't have high expectations for Jared Davis. Like Keelan Cole was someone who thought could be an excellent depth piece, and then he had plenty of chances here with the injuries to start and make some plays, and it just didn't happen.
The Titan game, he was great, and other than that, it just wasn't very much. Some drops.
Morgan Moses.
I would love to bring Morgan Moses back. It's just I feel like he's going to get a better opportunity elsewhere. I think George Fant and Mekhi Becton are going to be the 2 tackles next year. And look, I would love to bring Moses back. I love him, but he's going to get an opportunity to start somewhere. That's what I think it boils down to. Would you agree?
I think it's between that and, like you said, I think since he was cut late in the year, we kind of got him for a good contract. It
was a unique situation.
With how stable he's been with Washington and now us, the fact that he plays injured, really doesn't miss time. He's probably going to get double what he got here. So, but could the Jets invest in something like that? I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it just based on what's happened with Becton, because I do like having insurance, and then I also don't want the season derailed because of one injury. Like I don't.
Obviously, we saw without George Fant the last couple of games.
Yeah, you see what happened. Yeah, because Connor McDermott just can't play in the NFL.
Right.
So, Joe Flacco.
I would love to bring him back. I think it's one of those situations where they'll put the restricted tender on Mike White and then kind of see how it plays out, I guess. But I would love to bring White and Flacco both back.
I'm okay with bringing Flacco back. Salah had high praise for him today.
I saw that.
So he was even, I guess, kind of surprised with how Flacco came in and kind of added to the quarterback room. So, yeah, I'm okay with that too. Flacco came in, and he played pretty well himself against the Dolphins. So. LDT, kind of
love to bring him back.
Been kind of a fan favorite since he got here.
Yep, with an immediate boost to the running game.
Yep, and I think that's a good example of like how much the offensive line matters, because if you have one weak link or one guy who's a turnstile, it shows up on almost every single play. Like fans were calling for Greg Van Roten to be benched for weeks since the start of the season, but we just didn't have any kind of replacements
with Cam Clark's injury.
Alex Lewis retired, and Dan Feeney's. He was
obviously the center, so he was the backup at center, I guess. So
yeah, I'm good with bringing him back, especially if it's as depth. That would be fantastic.
LDT or Feeney?
LDT.
Yep, I
Uh,
agree.
well, I want to see how free agency plays out because there are a couple guys we're
At right
looking
guard.
at and we look at every year. But with that being said, it's very hard, and a lot of these guys don't end up shaking loose because the teams need to resign these guys.
Yep.
But hopefully, we solve the right guard issue because
Yep.
going forward, we're kind of overall positive with the offensive line, but we kind of it's almost like the last missing piece on the line.
Right. I
Granted,
agree.
we have some concerns about Becton and stuff, but overall as a unit, I haven't felt this good about the offensive line in over a decade. So,
Yeah, I'm completely with you.
Speaking of him, Dan Feeney.
I would have no problem bringing him back as the backup center. To be honest with you, I felt like he showed some good things, especially as a run blocker.
Yeah, I would try to upgrade, but it wouldn't be.
Yeah,
We
it
signed him
wouldn't be the
back.
best.
We signed him back. We signed him back. So
Right.
he is a good locker room guy. I know that really doesn't mean much, but for the someone who's like the seventh, really seventh offensive lineman, locker room like that stuff does matter. So
Right.
I'll bring him back if that's the case. LaMarcus Joyner, someone who didn't really play for us this year.
I would think probably not. I think they're going to try and upgrade 2 starting safeties. To be honest.
Yeah, I hope they go that route. But I also, so if Marcus May, like I said before, market isn't that big and he comes back for a 1-year deal, I also wouldn't mind doing that with Joyner. Not both, but
Right.
like one of them. Like you tack it in free agency, and then you get your star, and then I also wouldn't mind bringing back Joyner back as depth.
I agree.
Tyler Croft.
And another one like Joyner, like as a backup tight end, I have no issue bringing him back. But you never know what the market will dictate for some of these guys and what kind of opportunity they could get elsewhere. So
Yeah.
But either way, I'm good with it.
Yeah, Croft is a little bit disappointing for me, but I would like him as a number 2 or number 3 tight end.
Right.
Nathan Shepard, a Jet fan favorite.
I mean, one of the longest tenure players after it's him and Foley after Thomas Hennessy. So, but I don't think he'll be back.
That's all. I mean, based on his playing time, he might be. But
yeah, you're right.
I doubt it, but I guess you never know. It feels like he's good for a penalty every week, which is kind of crazy. But
it just doesn't make enough of an impact, really, run or pass.
Yeah. And that's really it. Eddie Pinheiro.
I would definitely bring him back, to be honest with you. I know they brought Amendola back on a futures contract today, I saw.
Yeah. So,
but they can just keep on bringing kickers in until they find one, honestly.
Yeah, that's really it. The rest of them are early restricted free agents, like Elijah Riley, Guidry.
Right. Who they can bring back easily. Right.
Jeff Smith, Tim Ward, and Foley. I guess Foley's the last kind of big undrafted, unrestricted free agent.
Obviously, love Foley. He's from right where I'm from here in Rockaway, but I feel like the writing has kind of just been on the wall there with that. And what he even said today leads me to believe he's going to get to the market and he's probably going to get a better deal somewhere else. But he was a great Jet the last 3 years. So 6th-round pick.
Yeah, I agree. I love Foley.
If he's back, I would be pumped. I love Foley, but it's tough to say.
Yeah, I think the writing's been on the wall. Especially when they signed Franklin Myers early on in the year. Not that they play the same position, it just looked kind of a lot. And I know this scheme forces you to invest in edge rushers and on the D line in general in the trenches. But Foley's going to get paid, like you said. And it's not only the fact he's going to get paid because he deserves it. It's just the fact that this isn't like a 3-4 defense. He's much better in that kind of defense. Here, he's kind of lined up. Like he's lined up a lot over as a 3 tech, which is kind of weird in my opinion. Like, yes, he can one gap a little bit, but, Foley's just kind of like, he's like a bull. He should be like holding the line. And unfortunately,
right over the center.
Yeah. This scheme isn't really his best scheme fit.
Right.
So
if they bring him back, I'd be pumped. I mean, I love him. He was still in backfield this year, despite the scheme change. Like he still made plays.
Yeah. And the last one's Maxine Barrios, someone I think we both agree should be brought back.
Should be back.
Yeah. Is there like a price you're not willing to go to?
I was looking at the receiver market, and like there's so many similar types of players that it makes it hard to project. But I feel like either 3 or 4 years, probably at most $5 million. I would think.
I'd say you get 6 because of just the return specialist. Both it's valuable punt returning and kick returning, and based on what we've seen, like he's probably gonna, if he is brought back, we can assume that he's like the
4th receiver,
the gadget guy. If Elijah Moore has to miss any time, and he's kind of proved that he's effective in that role. So, 6 million I think sounds fair. But I guess if he's getting more than that, then it'd be unfortunate because I feel like the Jets should be bringing back guys like this.
Yep.
Like we talk about, you just said Nathan Shepard's one of the longest tenured Jets.
Yep.
We need to start getting.
Yes. I mean, Barrios the last 3 years, I feel like every year he got better. Obviously, his first year was really just on special teams.
Yeah.
Then obviously last year Crowder had an injury early on. He filled in and did some good things. And this year, I feel like he made a ton of progress. So, yeah, especially as a receiver, he came a long way.
These are the guys you want to keep. Guys, like you said, who are getting better every year. They're young, and especially Barrios. Barrios is a guy who not only makes plays on special teams, but when we need him to, he can contribute on offense. And even yesterday without him, listen, the offense would not have been really good yesterday in general, even if Barrios played. But you can see that LaFleur couldn't really call the game that he wanted to based on the personnel we had yesterday. So.
I feel like he was so good with like the pitch passes on jet motions, all the orbit motions that open things up. Like he's really a great fit. And as a slot receiver, he came a long way, to be honest. I mean, his routes, his hands definitely improved. So to me, it's an easy one to keep. Yeah,
it's a no-brainer. That's really it for the free agents.
Yeah. Anything else, I guess?
I mean, obviously the national championship game's on tonight. We talked about the draft, the importance. There's a couple guys who are probably going to be in play for us.
Yeah.
Jameson Williams, one of them.
My favorite.
Evan Neal, if he falls. Right now it doesn't look like that, but obviously there's a long way to the draft.
Right. Things are going to change.
Yeah. So there's possibility he's there. And if he's there, there might be a good chance he's the pick just based on some people.
Especially people are saying he can play guard in the NFL. I mean.
That, and some people have him as the number one prospect in the draft. Right. So and we know Douglas and them love the trenches. So that's keep an eye on for. Georgia have Dean, the linebacker. Which I don't know if we take him that high, but based on how this defense played this year, Saleh needs some of these guys on defense. So, who do you think Alabama's going to win? You think?
I think Bama's going to win. I think Georgia will keep it closer than last time, though.
I hope so. Yeah, because Georgia had a great defense this year.
Absolutely
historic, but Bama just feels like they're too good every year. So
I agree. I'm excited to see Will Anderson too. Obviously, wish he was draft eligible this year, but I mean, he'd be the number one pick in the draft this year. So I'm excited to see him.
Anything else before we wrap it up?
No, that's pretty about it. I'll say, obviously, the next Jets episode we'll get into, we'll do, some specific analysis on how the offense in particular was this year. We'll go position by position and really how it should be addressed in free agency and through the draft. And then we'll cover some NFL content in some episodes too. We'll talk about some team reviews from non-playoff teams who are done, and then we'll get into some playoff previews as well. Obviously, a ton of big games coming up Saturday through Monday. So
that was some Week 18 finish for some of these games. The Raiders and Chargers game. The game last night was crazy. Absolutely, and that's what makes. And it's great that was like the final game of the season. That's up. Just an unbelievable story because. I really thought it was in a tie because I thought the clock was running out, but unfortunately, Chargers run defense. This didn't stop anything last night.
The Chargers got to improve that defense.
Before we end, really quick, going forward, like we talked about, we are going to be, besides the Jets, we'll probably be mentioning other teams, just their off seasons, like you said, playoff picture. Before we do end, though, because this is probably the biggest topic leading into this week, is the coaching carousel. Yeah, we've seen a lot of openings today. Some surprises, like Brian Flores being probably the biggest surprise. I think you mentioned it, but that was a shocker. I'm almost glad as a Jet fan because Flores is the best coach they've had in a long time, and his defense is a nightmare to play. And
I love the defense.
When I first seen that he was fired, I thought they were going to bring in Harbaugh, but apparently that's not happening. Right. So I don't know what they're doing, the Dolphins, which is good news for us. But
the thing is, like, they couldn't really get the offensive line right, and obviously he didn't want to go forth with Tua, so that's what it boils down. I almost wonder if he has to get fired because they're sticking with Tua, to be honest. He knows that it's not a very good coaching market and that he'll probably be the top guy. It's not a good coaching market at all, in my opinion. I'll be honest.
I mean, I was going to ask you, have any favorites for some of these positions?
I mean, Flores is the top guy for me, along with Jim Harbaugh, I would say. So, but
anytime he's not even confirmed to be like he could just be using the NFL as leverage for more money in Michigan.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, I guess maybe Kellen Moore. I don't know though.
Yeah, I think I'd rather hire Dan Quinn, to be honest. I don't even know. Like, Dallas that's probably my favorite game of the weekend. Like, Dallas
Dallas
Mariners, but
matters.
Dallas are very up and down, especially offensively. So we'll see.
Yeah,
But it'll be fun. But
absolutely.
anyway, thank you guys for joining us for our first episode.
Yep. Thank you.
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Yep. We got more coming.